In this episode of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the Washington Capitals taking down the Vancouver Canucks Friday night, and we talk about Evgeny Kuznetsov getting a hat trick. We'll talk about all of that and more next on Locked On Capitals.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome in to this episode of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. This podcast is available on all of the major platforms. So when you're using your podcatcher of choice, make sure and hit that follow or subscribe button. Or if you're on YouTube, hit that little bell. That way you will know when the new podcasts are available. And thank you for making Locked On Capitals your first listen or view of the day. Wow. So the Capitals end up winning 4 of 5 on the road. Well, I guess they played that one on at home there, but they've been playing really well as of late as they take down the Vancouver Canucks. They take down the Flames. They take down the Hurricanes. There's some teams that they're playing really well against that, to be honest with you, I didn't know how well they would fare against them. So it was a pleasant surprise to see how well they have been playing. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. So tonight, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about kind of the reemergence of Evgeny Kuznetsov. You know, he had that off season last season where they were kind of talking about trading him. And then we're going to talk about the hot play of Vitek Vanacek as he is emerging as the number one netminder. Okay, so Friday night, the Capitals play the Vancouver Canucks. It's game number 60 of the season. It's Vanacek versus Demko. And right off the bat, I knew that it was going to be an action-packed game, and I knew that the Capitals were going to have their hands full because Thatcher Demko is the number one netminder in the Vancouver Canucks organization. And I knew they had to be prepared because it was not going to be in any game by any stretch of the imagination. And it didn't end up being that way. It wasn't that way. They had Horvat that had 2 goals in the game. It was just, it was a real kind of barn burner out there. The game saw 3 goals by Evgeny Kuznetsov, and then the overtime winner by Lars Eller. And the hat trick for Evgeny Kuznetsov, I mean, it was just kind of good to see him kind of coming into his own and getting that confidence back out there, that swagger that's necessary to be a good player in professional sports. Last year, he had those issues with COVID, and he had some legal issues in previous seasons. So for him to just kind of end up being more mature here, kind of coming into his own, it was really a good feeling to see that out there. And then the great play by Vitek Vanacek. He made 23 saves on 26 shots. That's good for a .885 save percentage. And you just kind of have to keep going with those wins. And it's like I talked about before. It's kind of that snowball effect. Good things keep happening if you keep winning as you get more confidence as you go along. Laviolette on the 4-3 overtime win in Vancouver. I thought we played a really good game tonight. It got muddied up a little bit in 3 minutes, but after that happened, the pushback we had was really good again. The guys were just not stopping, and that's kind of keeping your foot on the gas the entire game. You know, not getting defeated. The Capitals could have given up. I mean, they had that lead in the game, and then it ended up getting tied, and actually they lost the lead there for a while. So for them to just kind of persevere and not let things get the best of them was really just reassuring. If that was the Capitals from earlier in the season, I think that they might have just given up and folded, because I think to a certain extent you can kind of get caught in your own head. You know, if you have any failures or things aren't going that well. Eller on the game. Eller on whether Kuznetsov chiseled goal number 767 from Ovechkin. I don't know if it would have gotten in laughing. I think I would have done the same thing. Make sure I take a whack at it. Ovi, he'll get there. And I don't think we need to worry about Alex Ovechkin. I think that he will get number 767 here soon. And Jaromir Jagr, when he heard about the record getting tied, he's like, well, maybe I should come back. I don't think that's really going to happen, but the guy's in phenomenal shape, and I think that anything is possible. So just a good game all around. Demko was strong early in the game, and he was that brick wall out there. I'm like, well, the Capitals are going to have their hands full with Demko out there tonight, and they did. And then they started it off with that power play by Jensen as he got spun out in the corner there. And then Kuzi, when he was out there, he got that really kind of crazy goal, if you guys saw the game, where he shot the goal or he shot the puck, and then it kind of like bounced off of him, and then it went into the net. So it was just kind of an odd game all around in that regard, because Demko was looking around like, did that thing go in? How did that go in? And I think everyone at home was thinking, how did that end up going in there? And then, like I talked about, Kuzi got that goal that he thought was Ovi's. And it was quite a game. Just to start off, it was kind of rough. It was a physical game. McMichael getting in shots, but he wasn't finding the back of the net. And I think that McMichael will end up coming into his own here a little bit. I know when he started this season, he was scoring a lot more goals, but he's kind of just been snake bitten as of late. But that's the big thing, is just to keep taking those shots and just keep hitting them on net. It's got to find the back of the net sooner or later. And then Tom Wilson had a big physical game out there. And he just was laying guys out left and right out there. And that's what Tom Wilson does best. I mean, he is a great goal scorer, but he is that intimidator out there. And that's what Tom Wilson was doing out there. So you had Tom Wilson out there with his big physical game, and then Martin Faravari with that big physical game too, where he was smashing Horvat into the boards. If you saw that, it was they were just lighting the Canucks out there, just smashing and slaying them into the boards there. And then it was kind of an odd game in that regard, that there was that penalty that Oshie, they said that Oshie had a penalty against him for high sticking. And Oshie went to the ref and he's like, actually, I don't think I was the one with the high stick. Why don't you take a look at it? And I guess the rule had changed this year, where you can actually go back and take a look at penalties that are considered high sticking. So they ended up going back on it, and as it turns out, it was the Canucks player who actually had the high stick, and he went off. So that's something that you don't see happen every day out there, and it was a pleasant surprise, because you don't want to be a game where you're sitting a majority of the time in the penalty box, especially TJ Oshie, who has a great scoring touch. So the Capitals now are 32-18, and they have 74 points. So they're slowly chiseling away at the Penguins, who have 81, the Rangers 79, and the Hurricanes with 87, and the Blue Jackets behind them with 61 points. It doesn't really appear as though they are going to catch up to the Capitals. I don't think there was really much chance of that anyway. It seems like the Blue Jackets were kind of turning it up a little bit there, but there's just not enough runway left for the rest of the season. So what the Capitals have to do is they just have to continue to go out there and play their brand of hockey, and that's what's going to be their keys for success. So Kuzi, in 15 games played, has 9 goals, 11 assists, and 20 points career versus Vancouver. And he's another one that, like I was talking about with Ovi, he has the Canucks number. And it's one of those odd things that, is really kind of unexplainable. Why do certain players or certain teams play so well against certain teams? It's really hard to explain. For example, Nick Backstrom has never had a goal against the Vancouver Canucks. That seems like an odd stat there too. And it's just really kind of unexplainable, to be honest with you. Why is it? They've played that team enough times. You think by now that they would have gotten a goal on them. So after the break, what we're going to talk about is Vitek Vanacek and his great play as of late. But first, our next partner has a product I use literally every day. I started taking Athletic Greens because I wanted more energy, and I wanted a supplement that actually tastes great, and I wanted to see what the hype was about. Now I've been on it for about 2 weeks, and I love it. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy. It kind of has a mild tropical taste that I actually look forward to taking each day. And I know that sounds funny to say, but it's got a good taste to it, so I actually don't mind taking it. So what is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. I personally use it because I have 2 babies at home, and just doing a full-time job and doing this podcast at night, I can use all the energy I can get. It's lifestyle friendly, so whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep, quality, and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant production iterations and third-party testing. Importance of multivitamins. Tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients so that your body will actually absorb, because a lot of the vitamins that you take nowadays, you just pass them through your system. Not Athletic Greens. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's one you can do every single day to take care of yourself. Your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is so important to add in these winter months when we don't get as much sunlight as we need. And thank God spring is fast approaching here. So to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you need to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Thank you, Athletic Greens. You make a great product. And okay, so to start off this next segment, first, on Monday, March 21st at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, tune into Locked On Fantasy Hockey's live deadline reaction show to get all the on-ice fantasy and betting analysis you need from your hosts, Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone, with appearances from our roster of local team experts. Plus, catch our own show at Locked On Caps for immediate reaction to the Capitals' moves. And I guess it depends on what the Capitals are going to be doing. I hear they're going to be kind of quiet at the deadline. Are they going to pick up a goaltender? I mean, that's the question. And I pose that to you out there. You can answer me back at DanCaps218 on Twitter. What moves do you see the Washington Capitals making? I think that they need to pick up a goaltender. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but it's true. They do. Ilya Samsonov's play has been inconsistent as of late, and it's kind of been that way all season. And the one thing that you don't want to have going into the playoffs, the postseason in general, is inconsistent net minding. Who's going to start number one? So the Capitals really need to address that. And it's a good thing they have Vitek Vanacek. That's the one thing I will say. Vitek Vanacek has a 2.04 goals against average. That's the 4th. He has a save percentage of .931. That's good for 5th in the league. And he has 3 shutouts this season. 3 shutouts. That's number 1 in the league for Vitek Vanacek. And I've kind of always known that Vitek Vanacek was a great goaltender. He played really well in AHL Hershey. But a lot of the local beat writers for the Capitals, they said, well, at best, he's a number 2, or maybe he'll be a starter in the AHL, but he's not a starter in the National Hockey League. Well, I'm glad to see that they proved him wrong, because he played lights out last season, all of last season. And then he had that fluke accident in postseason, and that kind of, I think, is what derailed the Capitals to a certain extent. So this was what I saw written online. This is on Japper's Rink here. I said, it shows here, one thing that has gone well, perhaps the one thing that has, is the play of Vitek Vanacek. Since the calendar flipped, Vanacek has a .937 save percentage and a 1.81 goals against average, both of which are good for 3rd in the league among goalies with 10 or more appearances. That he has just 5 wins to show for that, 3 of which have come via shutout, tied for the most in the circuit in 2022, speaks more to the goal support he's gotten than his play. In the last 2 losses, he's saved 44 of 46 shots, and that's kind of unbelievable. For a guy that hasn't been playing in the league that long, To think that we almost lost him to Seattle kind of blows my mind. Where would the Capitals have been if they had not had Vitek Vanacek? If they would have, in fact, lost him for good to Seattle, the Capitals would have been hurting this year, because then it would have been Samsonov and Copley or Fucale. Fucale is a goalie that I still think deserves his take or his shot in the NHL, and I think that he'll end up getting it here sooner or later. But sticking with Vitek Vanacek here, he's been playing great all season for the Capitals, and kind of their saving grace when he got injured in February and missed most of the season in February. The Capitals were kind of floundering. They had some kind of inconsistent play in net. They tried different goaltenders. They had Fucale and they had Phoenix Copley in there. I think the only one they didn't have in there in the Capitals organization is Shepard. But with kind of inconsistent play from all of them, to be honest with you, because Fucale was kind of inconsistent when he was playing in AHL Hershey for a while, but now he has turned it around. So like I say, I think that they deserve to give Fucale a shot, but good thing that they have Vitek Vanacek in net. So Vitek Vanacek's emergence hasn't come overnight, and it shouldn't necessarily be surprising. After all, he might not have a first-round pick pedigree, but he was the third goalie taken in 2014, 39th overall, selected by the organization, with a sparkling record of drafting and developing netminders in the past 16 years or so. And he's a noted grinder. The last part is important because Vanacek's work ethic is a big part of why he is where he is today. To wit, this exchange from an early season Q&A from Caps goalie coach Scott Murray. So that's what I'm saying. His work ethic is why he's gotten where he's at. He hasn't been revered as the number one Capitals goaltender, and he hasn't let that stand in his way of playing lights out hockey. That's definitely was a point of emphasis. It's not that he wasn't a good skater before. He was a very good skater. We just felt that he could push the envelope a little bit more and trust his feet and be able to get his spots in a better position and make it really hard on other teams to get him in a spot where he was vulnerable. So he's pushed the envelope on that, and he's tested it, and he's done a good job at honing in on that and making that a bit of a foundation for himself. So the guy's got a good work ethic, and surprise, surprise, someone with a good work ethic is doing really well in the NHL. And that's what I'm saying. If not for Vitek Vanacek, I think the Capitals season might be over, because they would be struggling to find that number one netminder. So it's a great feeling to know that they have him in net. And I think that there's a certain level of calm with the Capitals when he's playing in net, because if you remember that game, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, last week, where Samsonov was playing rough, and then because he was allowing all kinds of goals, and then enter Vitek Vanacek, and guess what? Goals stopped. I think he allowed maybe one or two, but the Capitals ended up picking up a win, and it was very noticeable when Vitek Vanacek was out there. I think that the defense and everything plays that much better in front of him. And I'm glad that they were able to find a way to get him back, because, like I say, most of Caps Nation was up in arms when we lost Vitek Vanacek. Kind of the feeling of what are we going to do now? And like I say, I am glad that they were able to figure it out. So after the break, we're going to talk about the re-emergence of Evgeny Kuznetsov, from being on the trade block the year before, and COVID issues and other legal issues, to kind of really a predominantly great goal scorer in the Washington Capitals organization. We'll talk about Evgeny Kuznetsov next, but first, BetOnline. It's that time of year again, as college basketball's tournament is fully upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, betonline.net is the number one source for all your sports and betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information needs, including live betting in your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you, BetOnline. So from one good sponsor to the other, Built Bar. And it's New Year's, and it's not too late to give up on New Year's resolutions. Built Bar. This is the time of year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my New Year's resolution to eat right. Thanks to Built Bar, it almost feels like it's not really a New Year's resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. Puffs are a fan favorite with some incredible flavors: yummy cinnamon churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. They're so good. They're going to be your new favorite. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, Puffs included, 100% real chocolate. They're low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. They are better. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Ouch. So follow through on your New Year's resolutions. You got to stop with all the fast food and the pizza and the candy. Eat a Built Bar if you're hungry. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. So, like I say, continue with your New Year's resolution to eat right. You don't want to fall off the wagon. It's too early in the year to fall off the wagon. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. Thank you, Built Bar. Okay, in this final segment, we are going to talk about the reemergence of Evgeny Kuznetsov. And like I said, what are you talking about, the reemergence of Evgeny Kuznetsov? He hasn't gone anywhere. Yeah, you're right. He hasn't gone anywhere. But last season, he played pretty rough. And some big-name Caps beat writers talked about that they should trade him, but they probably won't get enough for him. So I'm glad that he was able in the offseason, whatever he had to do, maybe it had to do with maturing, maybe it was COVID, who knows? I know he has kids at home that can center a person. I'm glad that he came back a better player, and it's really kind of undeniable that he has come back and played a much better game. Kuzi had, in this last game, had 2 goals in 43 seconds. Kuzi this season has 19 goals. He has 15 games played, 9 goals, 11 assists, 20 points, career versus Vancouver, like I was talking about earlier. And it's kind of unexplainable, really, why certain players have certain teams or players' number. After the game, Bruce Boudreau, spoke about the play and was critical of Kuznetsov. I was just watching it on there on TV. Boudreau said, he's just a big guy. And I would have to say, if you know Kuznetsov, there was a bit of embellishment there by staying down on the ice, but he couldn't wait to get back out on the power play. It wasn't like he was hurt. But Tyler was big. It wasn't like Tyler skated into him. He sort of glided into him. He's a big man. Sometimes it doesn't help. A reporter asked Boudreau if he thought Kuznetsov should have been required to go into the concussion protocol. Why don't you phone down there and ask me that? Boudreau joked. I would have asked the ref right away. Do they still have spotters in the stands? Because if they do, they would have been a perfect case for a spotter, I think. And I think that Bruce Boudreau is a bit of a sore loser as the Capitals ended up defeating the Vancouver Canucks. And I think that it's a little bit bittersweet or bitter for him in his case because he used to coach the Washington Capitals. So anytime he loses to his former team, I just think he has a hard time with it. And I mean, I really can't, fault him for that. I wouldn't want to be out there losing either. So like I say, Evgeny Kuznetsov has really focused his game, and hopefully that can continue because we need him down the stretch here. And if they can keep continuing to get consistent play from him, that will only help. So let's just hope that they can keep in their winning ways. The Washington Capitals take on the New York Islanders Tuesday night. It should be one heck of a game. The keys to success here, I know they had Sheary on the top line there, and Sheary's done a fine job, but I would put Tom Wilson back on that top line. It kind of serves as a deterrent away from Ovechkin and Backstrom. And then my key to success would be having Vitek Vanacek in net. He is that steady hand in net. And that's what the Capitals need down this stretch is they need consistent goal scoring and they need a steady hand in net. And Vitek Vanacek provides that to a team that has some big decisions to make. Talking about the trade deadline is the 21st. And the Capitals have some big decisions to make. In tomorrow's show, we'll talk a little bit more about the trade deadline and what players the Capitals should target. There's big names out there, Claude Giroux, and obviously there is a huge list of different goaltenders that the Capitals would be interested in. Marc-Andre Fleury, Braden Holtby, Georgiev. Like I say, we'll talk about it in tomorrow's episode, but just think about that and shoot me a message, DanCaps218. Who do you think the Capitals should target at trade deadline? Because it's not just goaltending. Goaltending will go a long way, but it's not going to win you hockey games. I think that they need some depth defense and they need some depth forwards. So they have some big decisions to make out there. And I hope the Capitals are ready because we're going to make that big push for the playoffs. And I think the Capitals are going to surprise a lot of NHL fans out there at how far they go. But they need to lock up that goaltender. And I think that will be the big key to their success there. So that is the Locked On Capitals podcast for today. Now make your second listen, Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Host Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone help you become the expert of your fantasy league. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of Locked On Capitals. I will talk to you again tomorrow as we break down the Capitals game and what they need to do to be prepared for the Islanders. Thanks for watching.